Dr. E.K. Pandey. Thank you. I would now request Professor Pandey to take over the proceedings of the session once again.
Go further and we have to geographical indication, process and testing.
Good evening. This is a paper, this identifying candidate from geographical indication is a byproduct of the research work for formulation of the bicultural community protocols of the tribal region of Northeast for Kanpur or Angama. Northeastern rice variety which grows in the mainly a part of the Assam, Nagaland and mainly the part of the Boland, I should say. And it has been established that this variety of the Komal Chao or the rice variety may be taken up for the successful registration of GI. What is GI and what are the famous GIs of India and abroad? That is listed over there. And the first step towards the identification of the GI is that we first see that whether it is a bicultural product or not. It may be a biological product, it may be in the category of the natural resources, it may be in the category of the manufactured one, or it may be in the category of the agricultural one. First step towards the identification of the geographical indication is that it has to be established as a successful bicultural product. It may be the part of the TK of the region, territory or the locality, it may not be. But it must adhere to one of these types that has been listed over there, and mainly my work is related to the number 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. That is cultural attributes of the locality is to be studied, bicultural attributes, the traditional knowledge related parts, and also some of the traditional cultural expressions related to the bicultural product is studied over there. Now after this first step towards the identification of the GI candidate is done, then the next step is to see the marketability of the product, and in order to see the marketability of the product, the feasibility of economic viability that is required to be seen. And there are a number of the survey bodies are there who provide this kind of the services, and I'm just skipping that part. The third step is to see the produce an organized effort towards the application and the registration. Towards the application, then that has to be filed by some kind of the association of the manufacturers or the persons who will provide the equitable treatment towards the breeders, farmers, manufacturers, processors, or the preparators. So in this case, we will find that if we go for this kind of application process in the third step, so what are the benefits we are likely to have? So this is listed here, that what are the likely benefits we are going to get from the registering and protecting a GI product. The project abroad, like the spider silkweed textile from the Madagascar spider web, that has been registered for GI, but it has the local community benefit sharing that is minimal. And here our reservation that the community or the territory where these natural products or the agricultural products or the manufactured or the scheme that is available, they should get the benefit or the share out of it. So towards that direction, the India, I should say, is much more progressive. Where I'll just quote one example from our Allahabad Scientific Institute of Agriculture, Technology and Science, the formerly known as Allahabad Agricultural University, who has done a participatory seed program the seed production program with the farmers and the breeders and the researchers together. And this is the Allahabad's effort, and they have produced a 1-year wheat production. It is still in the project is going on, But definitely if this product gets the GI, the manufacturers, farmers and the local community who are involved in that, they will get the equitable benefit sharing out of it. That slide is saying this short, but it has been clearly shown that only a part of the community who are not even from the community, they are getting the maximum benefit out of such project. This is the Sam Newton Institute's effort of such rice varieties, which is not being considered for any kind of export or anything. So these varieties from the Assam region, mainly the land in and around the Boro land, and it does not require cooking or boiling, it is boiling. And if you soak the rice in the cold water, if it is a cold water at 4 degrees centigrade, still it becomes rice within 25 to 30 minutes. And that's why the name is called Komal Chawal or the soft rice. And the study, the biochemical analysis which has been conducted at CRNI Cuttack, this has revealed that this can be considered under the ideal health group, and the recipe that is used by the Assamese during the traditional occasions, that is called Komal Chawal Jalpan. Balihura and Rapua. Out of that, Balihura and Rapua, they are not yet found suitable for the experimentation. It is the Arunagula variety which contains the 4.62% of amyloid, which makes it audible within an hour of cooking. And this has a long old tradition. During the festival period, this is the Komal Chawal that is traditionally being taken in various recipes, and also it is considered as the ultimate soldier food. In 1916, the Siachen, that is the highest battlefield in the world, the soldiers used the Komal Chawal. In Pulia Agricultural Training Center, West Bengal, the Komal Chawal has been successfully grown, but packaging is not yet ready because Komal Chawal requires a very special type of packaging. But the husk is very thin, and it gets damaged if you try to move a long way in the usual packaging, it gets damaged. The Pulia Agricultural Training Center is trying to innovate all the lost 145 varieties of the native rice, and this is Komal Chawal of Avenimura type is one of them. This has been also cultivated successfully in the Bakula Factory Preservation Farm. This is one of the substations under ICAR, and they have also successfully cultivated. And the most pioneering work in this direction is being done by CRRI, Central Rice Research Institute, Cuttack, Odisha, for cultivating of the Komal Chawal in stages of the Avenimura type. So this shows that it is a grass variety, and what is that you can see, it is a bit short type and the husk is very thin. This is for the to show that it is in the traditional, it is a traditional agricultural product and suitable for the GI. It has been registered because there is no association or no body that has taken up the case for the successful registration. So for the application of the registration, GI has to be made in the specified form that is available in the first schedule of the GI Act 1999, and for that the process is elaborated in the paper also, and it can be found in the IPGIS.in. The successful mapping between the factory of the GI and the template that has been used in the form, and the attributes of the Komal Chawal that has been made in the paper, and it shows that the product Komal Chawal, it is eligible for becoming a GI. There are similar moves for the various bilateral products and the services, and one of this again from Allahabad is by Allahabad Agricultural University or Sam Newton Institute of Agriculture, Technology and Science, where the Sarvapratama cultivation is going on, and they are considering it for traditional medicinal system of epilepsy and several other things. There are efforts by the United Nations Environment Program, that is 2009 SID program, gold awardees are there, and India happens to be one of them. The Bicultural Community Protocols of India, that happens to be a SID gold winner of 2009. It is pertaining to the Raita Biocultural Community Protocol of Rajasthan area and also the Baitals of the Tamil Nadu and Buddhist from Rajasthan again. So these are the three biocultural community protocols that has been framed, and this has been framed with an effort to protect our tradition knowledge and also some of the biocultural products. I have taken those biocultural products only which can be successfully registered for the GI, and that part has been isolated from the TK. Dr. T.K. Adil from Central Rice Research Institute, Cuttack, Odisha, and of course my co-author Dr. Eddie Samagar, who has successfully provided the data required to do my matrices. Ravindra Kumar Bali, research scholars of Dr. Samagar, PIS, LML, NIT, Allahabad, for going to the field and collection of the data. Gopinath Nayak, my student in the MTech Information Security, who came to read the paper and to send his comment. The DIT, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, for the project that is development of the educational content and associated repository of web services for intellectual property rights, of which myself and my co-author are the chief investigator and the co-investigator. IC project where I am a faculty member, and also the IPS cell, the Knowledge Management and Technology Watch Group of MNIT Allahabad. Also I am thankful to journalist Datta for bringing up this variety of the recipes in the Anand Bajar Patrika. So thank you all. Now I will be happy. I will request my co-author Dr. Samagar to come, and if there is any question to answer that also. It is helpful for as a textbook. It is helpful.
But it's the other way around, it has low amylose content, you listed 4.62%, right?
Yes.
And people say that amylopectin is not a resistant starch, amylose is a resistant starch with low glycemic index. That's what would be considered helpful, not this one, what you listed. Of course, it's good enough to have registered as geographical indication, but it cannot be called as helpful, So all those who are diabetic, they shun rice, and it should be those rice which have high amylose, which is the resistant starch with the low glycemic index, and that's what the world is looking for, not this one with the low amylose. That cannot be called as helpful. So if you have a rice which has 26 to 30% amylose, and it still has some good cooking quality, that will be, excellent.
I will just get my support from one of the papers, research papers, related to the biochemical analysis of the various recipes of komal chawal, where it has been shown, has been produced in the paper as well, that in those recipes it is 20% of the amylose and amylopectin that is there. I can show the paper. It is written by some researcher who says that it is 20% in almost all the preparations of the komal chawal, because the komal chawal is often that one that is said that consists of the kard, jaggery and the komal chawal. So that contains 20%, but in the raw rice it is 4.62 of the amylura type, whereas the dakwa, the moveligora, that is having the higher one. My topic is a review of benefit sharing mechanism in bioprospecting. Since morning I have been talking about this aspect of benefit sharing in few of the papers related with biogenesis and bioprospecting. I focus basically.
You have 10 minutes, please.
Yeah, I focus basically. I try to be quick. I focus basically on the benefit sharing mechanism of bioprospecting. So I will refer to the slides which are specific to my presentation. Next. But there are a lot of things I've been said since morning. But there's one point to mention that bioprospecting is addressed in a strategic manner. Developing countries can strengthen scientific research capabilities, stimulate development and business opportunities, provide adequate compensation to the indigenous communities. And there is a global approach going on in Korea, Taiwan, Singapore and Cuba for making this strategy a very successful one, where it has added values to the raw materials to gain industrial perspective in countries like Costa Rica and South Africa. Next. But there's a major gap. There's a legal, very weak legal protection, which is actually not able to bridge the distance between bioprospecting and biopiracy. And the major reason at the international level is the incompatibility between TRIPS, Article 27.3b and CBD Article 8J, which has already been emphasized by one of our colleagues in the previous session. And such a situation at the international level encourages biopiracy in the name of bioprospecting. Next. Benefit sharing, it is a major debatable area in bioprospecting. Why? It says CBD's guideline is to develop mechanisms for the protection of genetic resources and other biological materials, but actually, unlike other resource materials, genetic materials are taken up very easily in a very fair way, in a very unfair way, obtained fairly, easily by anyone at any place where they occur at any time, and they are considered in the public domain, and this is the major reason for misappropriation of these resources. Right? Some unresolved issues in bioprospecting. This is a very important slide in the sense the CBD does not identify in the BS mechanism who are the actors in the ABS arrangement, whether it's an individual or group in a function, whether it's a research institution or a scientist, individual in the community or community as a whole. Stakeholders are not bound to any obligations. If unplanned, it results in the wastage of resources in searching of compound, and compensation to the indigenous community is quite inadequate. Most of the time, in fact, they are excluded. This is harmonizing CBD and TRIPS relationship. I think this slide has already been discussed. What are the major areas of incompatibility? Like the CBD treats traditional knowledge and genetic resources as public community rights, whereas TRIPS has no mention of these as community rights. Rather, it treats as a public domain, and that is why it's very prone to biopiracy. Some experiments in bioprospecting projects and identifying its ABS component. Actually, after CBD 1 and 2 countries, 16 countries have so far been able to have some sort of legislation regarding benefit sharing. But of the 60, I have chosen just a few to identify what are the weak areas, the grey areas, which is not making access to benefit sharing a successful perspective. So there's a pharmaceutical model of bioprospecting. I think most of us know about it. So collaboration between a pharmaceutical company and the pharmaceutical government, where there is monetary compensation, non-monetary benefits, non-destruction of biodiversity, as well as conservation of genetic resources linked to profits in bioprospecting. There is, the basic law says biological material existing in nature are those which can be isolated, including genome or germplasm. They cannot be patented. But recently there was an amendment which does not specify implicitly this term. So there is a contradiction between the basic law and the amendment. Commercially, should we go for more cultivation of plants? If we cultivate more, is it sustainable? Second is, should the program of benefit sharing be maintained at individual, at sub-plant, state or national level? Third is, with a fixed sum of payments comes an expiry date, but when you give it to the community as community rights, customary rights, there is no deadline for it. I use rules to ensure legal access of the resources, procedures for access to be identified, authorities, subregions and jurisdictions should be clearly identified. This point will be elucidated in the case of our national biodiversity authority case. Because I think regarding the public registers there, and there is no clear mention of who is going to have control over the public registers. Your lack of clarity in the case of ex situ collections also. Collections which are made out of the farm. Next. Planning bioprospecting for sustainable development. Most benefit sharing mechanisms experimented don't specify the role of local communities. Then an international system is required for recognizing the rights and benefits. Inadequate regulation leads to time, money and efforts wasted, as in the case of Haldi neem takings, we have already seen the revocation. Then narrowing the broad legal interpretation, I just recall the Pennsylvania case. Next. Recommendations. Cost of implementing a very new point before going for bioprospecting. Cost of implementing bioprospecting vis-a-vis the benefits it generates is the deciding factor whether it should promote sustainable development, or not. If this is kept in mind, then only can bioprospecting be taken as a successful case. some proposals these are under research. I went through some of the research papers, not many, few of the papers, one of them are quoted here at us. He says benefits should include the empowerment of local people and the strengthening of self-governance. Various voluntary measures to enhance the compliance of the users, how an internationally agreed definition of misappropriation could support compliance, and whether particular compliance measures are needed in the case of non-commercial intent. This is a very important point. Well, if you go for a commercial project, fine, you need to have and get a compliance order. But when you're going for a non-commercial intent, whether it is really required, these are the debatable points which are going on right now. But there's a point which says, despite all this international effort, if we tighten our national regulations, it is not going to work.
Quite long in this and technical session. First invited lecture was delivered by Dr. Anita Pandey. She has presented her work on extremophiles, habitant of very diverse system of Lower Himalayan region. This work is very important when we are discussing about the biodiversity and bioprospecting. Second invited lecture was delivered by Dr. C.V. Prasad. He worked on development of transgenic gene of Bacillus thuringiensis used as pesticide. Toxin produced by mutated gene